But you know what the Dark Age is big government and tyranny and tyrants and dictators and pharaohs and kings. That is old-fashioned. That's going back to the Dark Ages. What's going to the future is looking to a free society and improve upon it. Time in our history we live and still enjoy the blessings of liberty. But the big question is how long are they going to last? They have been around. We live in one of the freest, probably the freest country ever and the wealthiest country ever. But in the last 75, 80 years, there has been a steady erosion. And just recently, it was recognized that now we aren't producing enough, it's difficult borrowing, it's difficult just printing money, and therefore, for the first time in our history, our middle class is shrinking, and it's getting poorer, and the people know about it. And they talk about, the 99 and the 1, and that's a mixed bag, and you have to be careful about that, because in a way, I talk about it, but we shouldn't be resentful of people in the 1% or 2% or 3% if they made an honest living without the government issuing in that tax bracket, that income bracket, making millions, if not billions of dollars, and they do it because they get bailed out and they work the system, they get their contracts and special privileges. That shouldn't be tolerated. But this is what has happened is that the powerful special interests have been benefiting by the pretense that we're helping poor people. The housing program is the best example of this of recent times because it was designed to help poor people. Everybody deserves a house. Rights that don't, you don't have a right to what you want or desire or demand. You have a right to your life and your liberty, but you don't have a right to somebody else's property, so you don't have a right to... Because nothing is free, and the government can't provide it, they have to steal it for something. That's fine for a while, as long as we're wealthy, as long as we can borrow, as long as they trust our money. But eventually, it all changes, and that's what we're witnessing today. It's a change in attitude, because we know this can't continue. Because we're living off the fact that people still trust our dollar around the world. But it's fast fading. There are plans being laid to have an alternative world currency, and this will be very damaging. And we can work on it, as so many of us have in this country, to restore the Constitution and sound money and commodity money. But the other side of this argument, they know exactly what we know, and guess what? They're planning on a worldwide currency. They're talking about the United Nations, the IMF, imposing a world currency. What we need is a restoration in the concept of liberty, the understanding and the faith and confidence that it does work. And that is, I think, where we have come up short. We have lost our confidence in ourselves, and we have allowed this idea that we can become dependent on government. But now the productivity is gone way down, and we are a much poorer nation. But the one thing that is really bothersome in another way about when we become dependent on government and redistribution of wealth and all the special interests, that if people become dependent and it seems like, well, they're needy and we save them and we take care of them, actually when they get totally dependent on others, they lose their sense of worth. And I think this is what happens so often. What freedom is all about. For me, it's seeking excellence and virtue. That's what our personal responsibility is, whether it's in caring for ourselves and our family, if it's caring for our intellectual pursuits, if it's caring about our spiritual life. It is up to us. Our creative energy comes from liberty. When we lose our liberty, and the government curtails us, we destroy that and destroy this sense of worth. And I think we're at that point today because there's a lot of anger out there, because right now they're fighting and screaming in the argument up in Washington. Why don't you guys get along together? Well, they got along together. They always compromised. One side wanted to spend money on one thing, the other side wanted on something else, and they compromised and spent on both until they broke. So it isn't compromise. We need a definition of what truth and rightness is, and then bring people together on these issues.